Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brandon.
And Carrie.
We are here today to talk about the false light. Some people look into the NDEs, Soul Trap, what the false light is. Is it really yourself being projected back at you? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right, Carrie. So we hear about in the biblical realm or religious realm the going to the great white light. What is your opinion of that light? What it truly is, how it affects us, and what may be other options?
That's a great question, Brandon. It's something I put a lot of thought into because I do believe that this entire reality is a copy. It is a construct, but it's based on a copy of something that exists far outside of here. Nothing of it exists in here in that original form as purity, anyway. And so the light, even that they have here, would be thus considered darkness because it's mixed with the dark matter that is central to this entire creation.
Okay, wait. So that gets into the whole duality thing as well, and the polarization of the dark. We'll call it the dark side versus the light side, but it's truly not the light side; it's a false light.
It is false light. It is, as the Bible refers to it, there is darkness, and then there is darkness indeed, and there is no pure, true light here in this realm whatsoever. Even our own light that we do contain within us, it at this point has been tainted, and that's why it's so important that we do the inner work, to where we try to purify and peel back the layers of captivity, for lack of a better word, that have been imposed upon us over the years and millennia. We've got to learn to live detached from those things, where we disconnect from it, and then live unattached. In other words, where those things can go on with themselves and it doesn't make you any difference at all.
All very good points, Carrie. So we see these NDEs. They're happen in the truther movement. There seems to be, there's the we'll call it controlled opposition, chills, whatever. It's like at every single layer, especially with the NDEs, they all have these through lines that they felt this amazing love, that it was ineffable love that they can't describe, that they were drawn to like a magnet, and then they were forced to come back here or said they had a mission. What are your takes on all these NDEs that seem to be more or less almost the same message throughout all of them?
Well, it is, and that should be our first clue that that's part of the construct. Machines like consistency, machines like predictability. And so anytime that they can put something together with an algorithm on it and arrive at a greater degree of predictability, then they are able to control those things whose behavior they can predict. And so they've become very adept at this, very accurate with those predictions, especially with the introduction of social media. That has been the weaponizing, if you will, in a more conscious sense than what has been done previously. So they've got it all down to a science. They've become very efficient, as the architect told Neo in the Matrix movies. They become very efficient at it and very good at it. This is not the first time that any of this has happened, and it's getting to be pretty old that we're hearing that all the time. But probably the first clue that the near-death experiences are part of that program to retain people in the program and recycle them is the fact that almost every one of them has the same uh, modus operandi, the same procedure. You're jerked out of your body, you're taken to a place, either lush plush fields or whatever. I'm going to guess whatever is your whatever you fancy in this life is where you get to go. There's a scene in the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams in it, and even in that movie, it is explained that they give you exactly what you want. That's part of the retention program. And so, in a world that is built on lack, that comes from lack, and was created out of lack, the ones of us who have wholeness within us, and we have a holy, WHOLEY spirit, then we're the ones that brought life or any semblance of life into this entire construct. So I'm guessing prior to our arrival, it was barren. It was a whole lot of nothing. And so that was why they needed our presence here, was to bring the quote unquote light into the darkness. And then over the years, we've been mixed with more and more uh, darkness. And that word manifests in a variety of different ways. It just doesn't mean go into a room and flip the light switch off and poof, it's dark. It can mean a myriad of different spiritual and deeper meanings. But so the NDEs pretty much all go through the same steps, and then you have some higher deity, whoever it is that in the above ground group that you worship or you
Like if you have Buddha,
yeah,
if you fancy Buddha or Krishna or Jesus
yeah,
or the Lord,
yeah,
I'm going to jump in real quick. It's interesting. So I'm a big conspiracy guy, obviously, and there's this Super Mario 64 iceberg, and in that video game, you play through the video game, and it tracks every single input that you make in the game, so that when you complete it and you get this special ending, it's all tailored to that base of inputs. So if Carrie were to play it one way and I played it a different way, going to this level or I go to that level and just a different way, but we're still doing the overall same thing. When you complete it, which would kind of be like the death experience or the afterlife experience, as above, so below, it's tailored to your experience. So if somebody, likes sweet tea and apple pie, well, they're probably going to be presented with something that is very familiar to their overall likes within this realm that we're currently in. So everybody's experience is going to be tailored to their quote unquote inputs within this world.
right, because it breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds comfort, and it is to put the individuals at ease in this new surrounding that is absolutely, I'm sure, terrifyingly mind-boggling. And my gut is that it is similar, although not exactly like the machine world in the Matrix movies. That's kind of what I see. I think it is machine. It is mechanistic, and I was thinking today, mechanistic is just like masochistic, and so you just flip the letters around a little bit. So it's all based on that. It's all based on building existence from dark energy and dark things, obscure things, hidden things, torturous, tormentuous things. And so that's how they build everything. In that movie with it has Zeus and Hades in it, and Zeus says, "We're dying. The gods are dying because the people quit praying to us." And boo hoo hoo. And then he's complaining about this to Hades, his brother, and Hades looks at him and said, "Brother, I've learned to live without that for years, and so I've learned to live off their hate," and that's actually what it is. And so that's why I tell people all the time, what you hate, you energize. What you love, you energize. But getting back to the original thing and the near-death experiences, and then getting hit with our favorite things. These are a few of my favorite things. We get to a level of comfort, and we don't get suspicious, and we don't ask questions, and we sure as heck don't remember that we're able to say no. Get your hands off of me. No, I will not. And to throw a log, if you will, in their logarithm algorithms, and kind of get them off track, because that's something that machines can't handle, is the one that's off the track.
Exactly. So like for my awakening, when I had I guess we'll call it an awakening or a stunt of awareness, it was almost as if I broke the pattern, because I say often to myself, okay, well, if I'm doing 10 things on a Monday and the system, construct AI, whatever you want to call it, is watching me, like Santa, he knows if you're good or you're bad. And so if he's watching or it's watching, then when I deviate from one of those 10 normal patterns and I go, for example, Carrie, I had one experience where I went to a rest stop, and I specifically remembered going there on a Monday, and I went to the restroom. I remembered like there was 2 people in there. It was on the left side of the complex. I remember it vividly. And then I went back 2 days later, which is not a normal thing for me to do, going to the same rest stop. when I lived in a surrounding city. So I broke pattern, and when I went into the complex, the restroom was on the right side. It had completely flipped, and this is why you get people with like Mandela effects pop in. You see birds that are sitting stagnant in the sky, airplanes that are doing the same thing. So it's about breaking that pattern. Back to the NDE, they expect you to have found some faith here in the realm outside of yourself that you are willing to give it faith to, or your faith to, as opposed to keeping yourself centered, staying neutral, staying in alignment, and knowing the faith relies on your within power. So you got to stand in your power when it comes to that by also questioning everything.
And that's where the awareness comes in. You've got to be aware that you have that power, and in order to be able to stand in it, and then to purify the thing that you stand in, so that you're not tied to the systems, CYSTMS, of this world, because they are cysts, and they cling on, and they grow at enormous rates until we stop feeding them. And that's part of the inner purification, finding out, who you really are, or remembering. I don't think it's a grand mystery, only except to us, that we just flat don't remember, because we have been mind wiped. And even more so than that, it is us who is training these machines to, I guess, come to a understanding or a knowledge and predictability of our thinking patterns and movements and judgments and things that we pass every time we get on social media or these other things, and we click all the likes, or we click all the don't likes, or happy, smiley, sad faces. We're training these things.
It's funny you say that, because there's the show, if you guys can't tell, I feel like I've seen like every stinking film out there, but there's a TV show on Disney Plus called Loki. And when he exits his reality, he goes to what's called the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, but he's in cuffs, and he has to wait his turn, and he goes to this room, and he says, "I've recorded everything you've ever said." And he's like, "What?" And then a piece of paper prints out, and it goes on top. And he's like, "Holy crap." And then another one prints out, and then he gets put to a chute. But it's the same idea, that everything that we're doing, looking at, seeing, thinking, is being recorded at some level of whatever 12-dimensional you want to call it. But
correct. And so that's how they know what to present to us in these near-death experiences, because we've told them exactly what our likes and our dislikes are, the things that make our heart go pitter-patter or raise our blood pressure. They know exactly what these things are. And so that's why they present when in the same pattern. Their pattern is always the same. Now the information or the scenery that they produce to everyone is based upon their individual input into that system. And so they're very good at it. But almost every one of them undoubtedly comes to the point where you have to come into agreement with them to walk into a light of some sort. You may feel warmth and love coming from this light because you got hit with a love bomb. Let me explain the love bombs, folks. We who are not from here at all have within our pure true light that is within our soul, not the soul itself, because that is a construct of this world. What I'm talking about is of a higher nature, is of probably even higher or different than what we would consider as essence. But lacking better terms, I'll just call it essence for right now. So our essence is the very nature and character of not a creator, but of an intelligence that just is, has always been, will always be, cannot be changed, but contains all variety within itself. And itself is a twofold nature, of masculine and feminine nature of itself. And so what we emanate, we were brought forth from that. We were not created from it. There are things that it did create. It wasn't us. We're the children of it. And so our very nature and character in that purest sense, before it was mixed with everything here, is the same as that. So that's where, like in the Bible, Jesus says, if you see me, you've seen my Father, because he emanates the same nature and character, not because they share uh, 5 letters in a name, that you might, use that freely to, whatever you want to use it for. It's not so much that. I mean, there is importance in that because you can put emphasis and uh, thought, intention behind that, and that can be a powerful thing in some situations by some people. And it's the ones that emanate that same nature and character. And I think that is the very thing that's going to help us to discern and rightly divide the error light, the erroneous, false, dark light, from the true pure light, because the true pure light is going to match what is already within our already lit part of that's within the soul.
The spark.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot more to that, but I'm trying to be simple with it.
So, what would you say, in your opinion, would be specifically the light? Is it because the way I view it is, okay, I know there's a light inside of me. That's why I'm aware, I'm awake, I question things, I seek to go within rather than go without. And I feel like it's, in some ways, it's like a big stinking mirror, and they're just shining your light back at you. And when you go into that false light, because it's not your own, it's outside of yourself. That's when you would be recycled or rebirthed and replaced back into this I call it the hell realm, or Sheol, or the upside down. All the names, it all makes sense. But what would you say, in your opinion, is specifically that light, if not yourself?
We contain the light within. Some of us contain the true light within our soul. That's what we were. I don't have another word for that. Essence, light, perhaps, from the true eternity. We entered into time. Everything here is a time construct. No matter how big the pieces or chunks of time are that give, or rotate, everything rotates in cycles and circles, which makes it give the appearance of being eternal, but it's not. We're just going round and round in circles, just like a never-ending merry-go-round. And so that's what gives us the illusion of things being eternal. If it was truly eternal, they would not need to re-up their energy by the consumption of other beings or entities at all. So they're not truly eternal. We contain eternity within us, but I think this is our last go around here, but that'll probably be another discussion there. But so what my idea is that I like your thought on the reflecting of what's in us, and I think that goes along with how they have taken our information through various ways that gives them that predictability,
That mimicking.
So that they mimic ourselves back to us, and they know that we will respond favorably in that. It's all the tenets of behavior modification, and it has to do with positive and negative reinforcement in a variety of ways. And then you have extinction, and then you have punishment. Is the other parts of that quadrangle, whatever it is. So their light then would be that, like you said, a reflection back to us. I've always said that to those dwelling in darkness, dim light appears bright. And so what that means is that even if you're stuck in a room and your eyes have adjusted to pure blackness, you can take the dimmest little light in there, and immediately your eye will go right to that light, as if it was the brightest thing in the world. And so they can present us really with anything there, because we have always dwelt in darkness, be it spiritual darkness or lack of consciousness darkness. I think our light is a conscious awareness of what's going on here. Those who are not conscious and aware of the deeper things, or higher, whatever they are, other layers of things going on, I think are those dwelling in darkness. And so I think that's what my thing is. And I think the trap is to make us think that their dim light is bright, and then we jump into it thinking that it's all good and peaches and roses, and that's where they get their judgments, and they get all this stuff. They do all those things, so it doesn't matter. What I think does matter is our own inner awareness of what resides truly and very much actively and truly has life and light and pure love in it. That's why we're so drawn to the false love and the false light they send to us, because not only because it's a kind of a reflection, or it's formatted after our what is already in us, so it looks just like it, but it's not it. It's, you know, probably the best example of that is going to be this. Plants that are indigenous to the area in which you live are able to extract actual real nutrition from the real soil in which they grow. And plants that are farmed, of course, they are given a formulation of a variety of different chemicals that the plants extract nutrition from, and growth stimulants and things of this nature. And then you have things that are lab grown that are based chemically on the same identical, say, active ingredients or vitamin combinations that's found existing in nature, but it's made in a laboratory. And most of your laboratory vitamins and minerals and things like that, nutrition, if you will, are petroleum products. They're based on some different formulations of a petroleum product. And so that's why people can take all the vitamins in the world, and it's not going to have near the nutritional impact, most of the time, as what eating the natural, wild, indigenous foods. Of course, the big thing there is they tell us that, well, because it's made in a lab, we can make it more potent, and I'm sure that you can. I have no doubt about that, because they can enhance absolutely anything, but it's all based off of some plant somewhere. And I don't care if it's Ivomec, I don't care if it's a cure for malaria. Why are they always sending all these people out into the quote unquote deepest, darkest jungles of Africa to find these new plants that have never been seen before, and then suddenly they come out with Ebola or some other new disease? So, it's all part of their scare tactics and programming. But so just like when people have the NDE experiences, they greet them with something that resonates with something that is already present within them, whether it's in their fully awakened state, or for most people, it will be a quasi unconscious, unawake, and unaware of what's really actually going on situation. And that's what they're banking on. They don't want those of us who can see beyond that. We'll be the culls. On one hand, I think the culls, and then, what I think on the other hand, I think that we will become invisible to them. I think that our frequency, our essence will be of such a nature that they won't be able to see us at all. They won't be able to perceive us at all.
So, like, staying neutral for me, it's not. I always go back to polarization. You don't want to be polarized to the negative. You don't want to be polarized to the extreme positive. You want to almost thread that needle, again, narrow path, like an arrow, shoot straight, and hit the bullseye, the narrow gate, all that stuff. And so it's like Kronos. We were talking about that earlier, how Kronos will spit you out if he can't taste you. You can speak better to that.
Well, yeah, and so that's actually in the book of Revelation, and that was, when I was looking at that one day, I was like, well, this sounds like Kronos. So Jesus says to the church, you're neither hot nor cold. I wish that you was hot or cold, which is red That's or it. Blue. And since you're not, you're lukewarm. And since you're lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. And so my question was, why are we in your mouth anyway, in the first place? And so I think that's a lot of what we're talking about. And, I don't know if it's even so much being neutral as in unopinionated, but unattached, to where it doesn't matter what either or side does. I don't want to invest my energy in that. I'm trying to stop feeding that beast. And so for me, that's, I don't know if that's neutral or not, because I still feel, certain ways about certain things, but uh, I jump right back out of it because I'm not going to keep feeding the beast. And I think when we put energy, even if it's hatred, all these people, these haters, I call them haters. Um, they think that because they're standing against this transhuman movement, that they're making such great progress. And all I've got to say is that y'all are feeding it. It wants you to do that because that
That
whole
creates friction.
agenda exactly has, it energizes it.
Hmm.
And so, I've never talked to anybody that absolutely loves it. And so it's there to be hated because they want that negative energy. And so here's all these poor people thinking they're doing, they're feeling justified in their own eyes. And, and the Bible talks about people that will go around and start killing other people thinking that they're doing God's work, and, well, they probably got that right, but it ain't the God they think it is. Because these are all entities that are contained within this whole existence. And if you can see the X meaning former and is meaning of the nature of beyond and outside of here, what is to me is the bottom line truth. And what is would be the ineffable oneness, the pattern in matter that manifested itself in its own image,
and not like the raw material. We're all one. Like you and I are exactly the same.
Yeah,
Not oneness in that respect. Oneness is as in, like you said, wholeness within yourself. Like you are an individual, but you're whole, and you're part of a collective, and that's where that oneness comes in. But there's individual, we'll call it personalities, traits, characteristics of that each individual spark. So opposite of a hive mind or a collective conscious, that is a layer to that same thought process where we all belong in wholeness individually, part of a collection of strictly truth, wholeness, benevolency, and so forth.
well, I think where I'm coming from is that for me personally, I do not believe that we all have the same origins. I do not believe we have the same ending. I do not believe that we all are one. I don't believe we're all the same. I think that we come from different places at different times for different, reasons or things of that nature. I think there are some that are indigenous to this entire setup that were created to feed this entire system. Whether it was from the quote unquote dinosaur days, they had the plant eaters and the meat eaters, if you want to believe that, and then they had the other. Everything is predator and prey. This entire system, and what I'm talking about is a system that is outside of that has no need for that because it has no need of anything at all ever in any sense of the imagination. There is no lack. When we have a system here that is built strictly on the sense of lack because it was uh, it was out of order to be built in the first place. The intentions were good, but the pattern was absent from it, and so that's where there was no balance of the quote unquote masculine feminine energies. Has nothing at all whatsoever to do with gender. Gender is like the lowest form of those essences that can even be imagined. And so that's what they've done with us here in this bottom of the pit, if you will, or the bottomless pit, which would be a black hole. I mean, it kind of makes more sense, uh, from what they teach in the churches and stuff, that someone's going to the bottomless pit. Well, if that pit's a black hole, you're probably right. It probably just cycles back around and eats itself. You like the Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So after the death state, we'll call it, or when you leave the body at that NDE, near death experience, they are hoping that they've trained you enough and are able to mimic you enough so that you are coming from a place of lack outside of yourself so they can present you with that opportunity to come back or to go save somebody or fix it or have a mission of spreading the word or the gospel or what have you.
In a sense, yeah, I think it's multitudinous, uh, and that will be true for some. For some, I think, yeah, I think that one of the basic, truly universal laws is like things go together. We're attracted to that with which we resonate best, and so the same frequencies generally resonate. They can get in sync or in tune, and so they knowing this know that we will be drawn to particular things, whether it's uh, a distorted image or reflected image of our own self or our own habits, patterns, likes and dislikes, or whatever. But it just more and more reminds me of the anglerfish that sits there at the bottom of the sea with his own trajectory of a fishing rod out of his head with a little bait, and he sits there and dangles that thing, and the poor little old fish comes by to take a bite and gets snarkled up. So uh, I think it's more like that. So the NDEs, I think, and because we're seeing so many of them right now, I think is part of the reiteration of the program that there is their heaven, but they want it to be your heaven, so that's custom made for you. You'll get your mansions, you'll get your money, all these things that you lack here, while you'll have them there. So we need to torment you and torture and deprive you more of it here. See, that's a god or entity of lack. Everything here is built on lack. It's not whole. It's built on holiness, HOLEINESS, however you spell it. Where we come from, whole, as in completeness. We've been split in so many different directions. It's probably not even a countable number that can be done here, but the NDEs, I think, is just preparatory for what's to come, to reinforce to those people who do believe in a heaven, or those who I've got some friends that think, well, when your life ends here, that's just it, and so for them, that's what it will be. And so you get what you ask for. And so, I always tell people, be careful what you ask for.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on near-death experiences and false light. Look forward to more information coming from me and Carrie, and have a great day.